Hello everybody, welcome to this week's Pigskin Preview. A lot of teams playing sub-region ball games this week. David Johnson and I will be back to talk about those in just a few minutes. But joining us right now is Social Circle head football coach David Seawright. Coach, it hadn't been the kind of year that you'd like so far, but there got to be some positive things for you.
There are, Danny. We feel like we're getting better. We're improving, getting some young guys, some good quality varsity experience. A lot of sophomores and juniors are getting a lot of needed playing time, and we're growing up. We feel like we're improving.
How do you keep this emotional or mental state or positive mindset in these kids when you're still looking for a win?
Try to focus on the positives from last week, the things that we did well defensively and offensively, the chances that we had, and kind of take that into next week when you're preparing for Riverside as we are this week.
Talk about last week's ball game. You were closer than the score might indicate.
Last week we did a good job defensively, especially in the first half. We gave up a late score right before the half, and then they came back out and put another points on the board, went up 21-0, and kind of fell off right there. But we feel like we're improving, feel like we're getting better. We're real young, but our kids are working hard, so we're proud of that.
Is it now? Are you to the point of the season when you get frustrated? Are these kids looking for bad things to happen, you think?
I don't think so. No, I think our kids are doing a pretty good job of staying focused and looking at getting better. I don't think we're at that point.
Okay. Let's talk about Riverside. They're struggling too, and this is a region ball game, so it's still a big one. You got a long way to go.
Yeah, we got a lot of football left to be played. Where our kids are excited about traveling to Riverside for a big region game, and we know we got a lot on the line. So.
How about their offense and defense? What do they like to run?
Offensively, they're in 4 wide, 2x2, a lot of throwing the ball around. Defensively, they're in a 4-3. So definitely different from other teams in our region. So they produce some challenges that we haven't seen to this point with being in the shotgun about 90-95% of the time. So.
I ain't got a chance to see your team play because Brian Arrington usually covers your ball games. You still in stacked eye?
Well, we've been in some stack eye. We have some formations we've been in due to some injury. We went to more I formation with some twin sets and stuff, just with some injuries that we've had, some of our players.
Injuries to a young ball club got to be dangerous for you.
It's been tough. We've got 3 or 4 key guys that are out right now, and we're working to get them healthy and continue to improve.
What kind of changes have you had to make because of those injuries?
Just different players in different positions on the field, offensively and defensively, different areas and stuff. So
I guess most of your kids play both ways then, don't they?
We're trying. We try to establish it where we have an offensive line and a defensive line, but there are some areas where we have kids play both ways on a lot of stuff. But definitely, kids are always involved in special teams, Class A football. But that's the same thing going on in our region. So it's nothing different than anybody else is dealing with.
Already some upsets in this region, so it looks like parity's finally come to Region 8A.
Definitely, what we've seen with Athens Christian's improved ball club and the film we've seen, there's definitely some parity in the region. A lot of teams working hard and playing hard.
Prince Avenue had a big upset last week over Athens Academy, so it wouldn't take but a couple of wins to get back challenging for a playoff spot.
Exactly, and that's what we preach to our kids: take it game by game and continue to improve and look at the film at what we did well, what we didn't do well, and improve on that.
How do you like it here at Social Circle? You've been here a while.
I enjoy working here. It's a great place to work. We got a great group of kids, so I really enjoy coaching and teaching here.
You like the small school atmosphere?
Definitely. It is a small school atmosphere, but you really get to know your kids, you get to know the community. We had a great crowd at our game last week. They're really behind our team, so we're proud of that.
And I know that's one thing you want to keep going is having the town support, fan support. That means a lot when you are struggling.
Exactly, it does. And the kids have came back with a positive attitude this week. We had one of our best practices of the year yesterday, which excited us as a coaching staff to see our kids running around and just having a good time, getting better. So.
Okay. Your middle school program, how's that going along? They've been close. Only got 1 or 2 wins, but you got to look down there and know what's coming up is going to be pretty good too.
Yeah, I feel good about those coaches. Coach Farber, Coach Pitter, Coach Prater. They're working hard with those kids, and then that program, is improving. We play up, so we play a lot of the bigger schools in the area, but those guys are playing hard, working hard, and unfortunately, I don't get to see them play because they play on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I don't get to see them play, but yes, I have seen improvement in scores and talking to those coaches.
All right.
Good job.
Good. When you come back home after Riverside, what's next on the schedule?
After Riverside, we go to Athens Academy next week.
On the road 2 times?
On the road twice in a row, yes.
Okay. When's your homecoming game?
Our homecoming game's October 14th against Prince Avenue.
Okay, so it's hard to believe it's almost October already.
I know it. The season really does go by fast, and for us, we only have 4 home games this year, so we're on the road 6 times. So it's a little different in the scheduling this year, So.
How did it happen that you only got 4?
It was a scheduling conflict took place 2 years ago, and trying to find that 10th game.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, good luck against Riverside. Hopefully, we'll talk to you later in the year before the playoffs start.
Okay. Thank you, Danny. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right, hope you enjoyed our conversation with Coach David Seawright from Social Circle. David Johnston with us right now. A lot of big ball games coming up this Friday night. George Walton has got a big ball game, David, but as you wrote this week in the newspaper, not as big as you would have thought.
Right, yeah. Coming in, I mean, you kind of, the way things set up, it looked like this was going to be their game of the year. Everybody's had this one circled on their calendar. I'm sure Athens Academy's had it circled on their calendar because, I mean, these are clearly the 2 top teams in the region, so we thought. And so everybody figured going into this one, this would be the region championship game. And then suddenly up pops Prince Avenue, who beat Athens Academy last year, but they were playing a non-region schedule. And up, lo and behold, here they are unbeaten. They upset Athens Academy. Not just, I mean, they beat them, shut them out at Athens, which is a very hard to do. It's a tough place to play. So all of a sudden now, if George Walton can get past his game this week, suddenly their big game now is the following week against Prince Avenue.
Prince Avenue came on strong, too. I saw them play 3 or 4 years ago when John Rick was their quarterback, and he was about the only athlete they had, it looked to me like, and now they're undefeated.
Yeah, they apparently last year's 9-1 was for real. Frankly, I wasn't a believer. I was thinking they played some pretty weak teams and they kind of racked up on that. But you go into Athens Academy there and win, and not just win, but like I said, really hand them their hat. They're for real. So, like I said, George Walton. Still, that doesn't really take away from this game. It's still a rivalry. Last year, of course, it was a double overtime thriller, and last year's really did decide the region. So basically what George Walton can do this week, they can pretty much eliminate Athens. If they win, they can pretty much eliminate Athens Academy from the region running, and then really the next week will probably be for the region championship, more than likely.
And more or less, Bulldogs playing at least for home field advantage in the first round this week.
Right. Yeah. Well, top two finishers get home field anyway. But of course, if you finish first, you get home field for a lot longer.
Yeah.
So it's both of these next 2. George Walton's kind of had a lull in their schedule the past couple of weeks with Hebron and Riverside, and kind of taking care of business with those guys. And it'll be. But this one, again, just because it's not for the region necessarily, it's still going to be a huge game. Should be a lot of fun to watch.
I've been following Loganville. They're going their ball games for most of the season. Decided to go up to North Hall last week to watch Walnut Grove. And Loganville Salem came into Loganville and really took them to the woodshed.
Right. Yeah, that was a shocker. I kind of figured that was going to be a real evenly matched game and a real titanic battle. And Loganville hasn't gotten beaten that badly at home since I think it's 2006. And that was their worst home loss in quite a while. And that really puts them in a bind as far as going for the playoffs. They kind of had their destiny in their own hands up until that point, and now unless they can go into Athens this week and beat Clark Central, which is a tall order. I mean, if they go in and somehow upset Clark Central this week, then things are turned back around and they kind of have their destiny back in their own hands. But losing at Salem, that was tough for them. So they're really going to be fighting an uphill battle from here on out, it looks like.
Looks like they either got to beat Clark Central or Flowery Branch, because Salem's probably not going to beat either one of those. And you got your top 3 probably in that region already: Flowery Branch, Clark Central, and Heritage. So everybody else is more or less, and I don't know if Godfrey's going to like us saying this or not, but everybody else has been fighting for that 4th spot all season long.
Sure. Yeah, this is, if somehow, like I said, if Loganville can pull this upset off this week, that'll give Clark Central 2 losses, and Loganville will have 2 losses, so that gives them the tiebreaker over Clark. But as it stands right now, like we mentioned, those top 3, if they keep winning and lock into those 3 spots, and Salem keeps winning, then they'll have the tiebreaker over Loganville. It's every week, we say this every week, but there's a big game. Loganville has a big game every week because you're playing that full region schedule. So, they just don't get a break.
Monroe area is going to be at Oconee County on Friday night. Their sub-region schedule begins against the Warriors. And you predicted in your column before the season started, Monroe area is going 8-2, and I'm thinking no way, maybe 6-4. But you're looking pretty good right now.
Well, yeah, I think that I was feeling a little bad after that first game, that Monticello game. I'm thinking, wow, I missed this big time. But they've turned it around, and had a few good weeks here in a row. And now they get into their sub-region where every game counts from now on out, as far as sub-region. If you really look at the way the sub-region breaks down for them, clearly Monroe, Gainesville are the top 2 teams in that league. And the others are really pretty weak. I think I counted it up. I think the rest of the teams have like a 1-6 or 1-7 record if you add all the others up. So Monroe, they're sitting pretty right now. I think they'll have a good shot at finishing no worse than second in the sub-region. Gainesville, of course, that's going to be once again like it was last year.
Yeah.
Once again, it's going to be a huge game this year. So Monroe, they need to go in and take care of business. And Oconee County is probably the best of the rest as far as the sub-region goes. So this will probably be their biggest game until they get Gainesville.
And Matt Fligg doesn't like talked about players that are not there, but they're doing this without Kendarius Whitehead. And there was an article about him in the Atlanta paper this week, how well he's doing at MLK, and every school in the nation's after him.
Oh, yeah.
And Monroe had him, lost him. They're still 3-1.
Yeah, that's a credit, and I've always been very impressed with Coach Estes, the defensive coordinator there. I think he can build a defense with just about anybody that can stop people enough to win. And so, but yeah, Kendarius, if they'd had him there, he's leading MLK in tackles right now. He's got every college in the country beating down his door. Would have been nice, but you can't worry about that. Who's not there? You got to play with what you got. And so far, they're doing it.
All right, like I said a couple of minutes ago, I saw Walnut Grove against North Hall last week. Walnut Grove, an inconsistent ball club. They're young. They start the season by losing big in Morgan County, then play really well against Jackson County, played well up at Franklin County, lost by less than a touchdown, and then last week get beaten really bad by a team that haven't won a ball game.
Well, that's just a sign of being young. I mean,
Yeah.
you just can't. It's hard to develop that consistency when you've got some young players. And North Hall, that was a tough place to play. That was a better team than their record showed.
Yeah.
They hadn't won a game yet, but like we mentioned last week, they played an awful lot of good. They played a really rugged non-region schedule. So that was a good team and tough place to play. This week, Walnut Grove finally gets to come back home after being on the road a couple of weeks, and gets a West Hall team that hasn't won a game and they're not quite as strong as West Hall, as North Hall rather. So, I think Walnut Grove can win this one. And frankly, if this is, of course, their sub-region opener as well, just like they're in the same sub-region as Monroe. And call me crazy, I think they could finish as high as third in that sub-region. I really do. I think they could come through. I think they've gone far enough or gotten to the point where, they win this week. I think they're looking pretty good.
All right, quickly, we've already talked about Social Circle, but they're at Riverside, 2 teams that have not won a ball game. Something's got to give.
Yeah, something's got to give in this one. Somebody's got to score.
Yeah.
Social Circle hadn't scored since the first quarter of their first game of the season. I think, was it 3 straight shutouts now?
Yeah.
Riverside finally they've been shut out 3 straight times, got a kind of a throwaway touchdown against George Walton late in the game last week. This game's probably for, to stay out of the cellar in Region 8A. Both of these teams are really struggling. And so it'll be interesting to see who's going to finally score one. So that may be it. Whoever scores first may come out on top in this one.
You're right. All right, don't forget 7:30 kickoff time for all these games. The LCA is off this week, and it's homecoming over at Covenant Christian. So you Cougar fans, get over there if you can. We'll see you next time.